Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Stiff Upper Lip podcast. I am Tom, and this week we have been blessed with Mr. Edward Wilkins. Ed, how are you doing?
I'm fucking jazzed, fella. Some news recently came down the grapevine that is Vikings related that makes me very happy. I'm sure we'll get onto that later, but for now, yeah, I'm doing good.
Absolutely. And we've also got a freshly PC ready Max Saito. Max, how are you doing?
PC gone mad, I'm afraid to say, boys. PC gone mad. Yeah, I'm not doing too badly at all, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. It's just about it's the trade deadline today, so just gonna have to keep checking on the old drip feed, seeing whether or not any other news comes through. As Ed alluded to, some bits did trickle through. But first, we do actually have some games to discuss. We're not gonna. I think that what we found last week is that we were right to skip some of the games in favour of talking about the more exciting ones and cutting the episode, either a bit short or, onto something more important. And with this one being the trade deadline, we've got a little special thing. So we're going to condense all of our games, and we're probably going to cut about 8 of them out by the looks of things on this running order. So be prepared for that. If we've got time, we'll briefly touch on them. But we'll start in Tampa Bay, where the Baltimore Ravens beat the Buccaneers 27-22. And I'm not going to lie here, I can't remember back onto Thursday because I got really drunk on Saturday, and everything that happened 3 days earlier is a blur to me. So does anybody have anything that was sort of notable about this game to cover for my own foibles?
The key takeaway from this game, and it's not just from this game, to be fair, it's from like all Tampa games recently, is how their whole ethos used to be stop the run first, but now it just, even with obviously Shaq Barrett's now on IR, but with a relatively unchanged defensive line, they've gone to suddenly this incredibly porous team that, I don't know, couldn't run stop. I don't know. Me.
Well, that has been a trend, but it didn't really show up in this particular game. But I don't think it was much in the way of credit to the Ravens. I think it was more damning that the Bucs are one of these teams that just can't run the ball. Leonard Fournette's just doing nothing, and we keep hearing about how Rachaad White's going to break out, but it hasn't happened yet. And yeah, I mean, I don't know, to be honest. The Bucs are just 3-5, in a whole mess of trouble. The Ravens, on the other hand, now 5-3, and they've added Roquan Smith this week. That does improve them. I don't know whether it's gonna sort out their sieve-like run defense though.
Well, he leads the NFL in tackles, so there's hope that he'll sort of plug a gap. He's certainly an upgrade on Pat Queen, even if his play has been at a relative uptick in recent weeks. But yeah, it was a fairly dour game, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. That is one of my bugbears of the last few years, is when people talk about the linebacker who leads the league in tackles, and it's not automatically meaning that they're a good linebacker. I think for me that experience comes from when Blake Martinez in Green Bay, he would lead the league in tackles, but it would always be 4 yards behind the line, and he would be getting basically dragged to the ground. I think Joe Schobert's another one who comes to mind who was a little bit like that. So yeah, I think Roquan Smith hasn't quite been himself, but you're right, he's definitely an upgrade on Patrick Queen.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that I do actually remember about this game is Isaiah Likely got his first touchdown of the year, or did he have one previously? I feel like that was his first.
Yeah, he had a couple in preseason. I can't remember any other games where he had that level of production because Andrews was out.
Yes, although Mark Andrews did have 3 catches for 33 yards. I think that they're saying that he's going to be fine for next week, and they're not expecting it to be any like long-term thing. It's just more of a day-to-day sort of deal. But good to know that the Ravens can lean on another one of these like pretty good pass-catching tight ends. Not going to put like a higher grade on Isaiah Likely just yet, but it's looking pretty likely that he fills in those shoes just fine.
Good one. Yeah, it doesn't hurt it doesn't really hurt the Ravens to have like a backup tight end who's really good, does it? I mean,
nope.
That's a key position for them. If they've got a tight end who can get open, then their offense can move the ball.
He does his duty in the run game as well. I was a big fan of Likely coming out, and I'm not going to be like hand-wringing and say, "Oh, look how great he is," but like, yeah, he's just a very good player.
I do always love it. I call it your Deirdre Barlow voice a little bit. It's perfect. It's like something you'd expect to hear on Coronation Street. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Please do it more often.
I've spent a lot of time really perfecting that voice.
I can tell. It is brilliant. Breathtaking, if I dare say.
I may say.
I am a fan of your Deirdre Barlow voice for my sins.
Alright, move it along.
Yeah, let's turn our attention then to the game on Sunday night, where we all sadly remember this one because it was another absolute stinker for the viewing party, as the Buffalo Bills hosted and beat the Green Bay Packers 27-17. My favourite part of this game was that sort of 5-minute spell where Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers just kept turning the ball over, and none of them were... I couldn't really say that many of them. There was one Josh Allen play that was definitely on him, but the rest of them were just like weird. The game just went odd. Like Josh Allen throwing it into the turf and Jair Alexander picking it off. And...
reaching down and grabbing it off the turf was really fun.
Yeah. It did get like really weird for just a random spell of the game. But that's pretty much all I have to say about it. Other than, Aaron Jones, they finally lent on him a little bit more, the Green Bay Packers. And hey, look, what do you know? 143 yards from Aaron Jones, so good job. Why don't you do that more often? You might win a game.
That weird period you're talking of, do you know what it reminded me of?
Go on.
Do you remember on like old FIFA games where you would sim a game in the career mode, it'd be like, oh, Billy Alatdinov scored a hat trick. And just something like stupid happened. It was like, turnover, and then normal, sort of like normal plays resume.
Yeah, it was a little bit like the Matrix was sort of chugging for a second there. You could really hear it just ticking over. I didn't really have many takeaways from this game. I think it went exactly how you would expect it to go. One team has Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, and the other one does not. And that's certainly to make the difference. I think the Packers sort of made it a bit more respectful in the second half. They kind of had a chance to get back into it, but didn't really. The Bills didn't really keep their foot on the gas either. Obviously, that Josh Allen turnover was like the one, so they could have extended the lead. I think it was pretty much went exactly the way that everyone thought it would. But I think maybe there are a couple of things in the second half that the Packers will be able to look at in film and for the first time in about a month. So like, actually, that wasn't too bad. Maybe we could do a little bit more of that, like giving the ball to Aaron Jones, as you say.
Did you see the news about Von Miller, where he went up to Aaron Rodgers and just like basically begged him to tell Matt LaFleur to pass the ball more, so he could do some pass rushing.
That's the kind of thing that only happens between like proper veteran guys. It's like they're reminiscing on their careers in the Hall of Fame induction while they're still on the field.
You do like to see it though, and I will say, if we were to all just quickly, we might end up doing this as like a little thing, like rating the best or the biggest free agent moves of the summer, seeing how they turned out. Von Miller has to be an A, right? The way that he's played and revitalized this Buffalo Bills defense,
I wouldn't say revitalized. He's like the cherry on the top. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, but
they've always been able to hold up on the back end. And I mean it's kind of one of those symbiotic relationships. They hold up on the back end. They don't really let anyone get too free, and then Von Miller can be brought in. And in this part of his career, he can be a bit more situational, and he can do what he's best at, which is getting his ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, a modern day Terrell Suggs. Yeah.
Who
he does
famously
that role,
was,
doesn't he?
yeah, played well into his twilight years and also requested teams throw the ball more often.
A modern day Terrell Suggs. I'm sure he retired like 2 years ago.
You never retire from Ball So Hard University.
Oh, cracking. Yeah, pretty quickly through the primetime games this week.
Yeah, for good reason as well.
Yeah,
that game was, even with the Buffalo Bills in it, it was real dreck, wasn't it? It didn't make for fun viewing when the second half.
No,
it just the NFL is in such an odd state at the moment where every game seems closer than well, apart from a couple this week. Every game seems way closer than I seem to remember it ever being the case, and there is a stat to prove about it, but fuck me, some of them are bland as out. Like half the primetime games from this year have been truly
primetime has been well, you say half the primetime. I would say the majority of primetime games have been good, but even the majority of that majority, like the actual playing time in the 60 minutes has been pretty dire. It's just that it comes down to a close finish.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about a game that had a close finish and was largely dire for about 54 minutes of it, why don't we turn our attention to the final London game of the year where
Broncos country, let's ride.
Finally picked up a win, 21-17 victors in, well, the Jacksonville Jaguars' new home of Wembley, I guess, adopted home, and yeah, this game stank for large parts of it, which I think we have been sort of spoilt by how the London games have turned out this year. I think that this has probably been the best year in terms of like how the games have ended up playing out in terms of like late drama, because for about an 8-year stretch, every single London game came down to like by the end of the second.
When you think
by midway through the second quarter, the game was over.
When you think of dire London plays, what is the play that comes to mind? Like, what play sums up like that stretch in like the mid to late 2010s of just ridiculous? It's got to be that Case Keenum interception to, I think it was Jack Rabbit Jenkins, where he threw it up and Jack Rabbit Jenkins was like the only guy stood in the end zone just by himself. There was nobody even on that side of the field, and he just picked him off easily.
I weirdly get the visions of a Blake Bortles play when they played the Eagles, but all of them were bad in that game.
Yeah, for me, it was one of Jameis's 5 turnovers when he had that 5 turnover day, and it was just like, yeah, a Hail Mary, just like a proper like 40-yard arm punt.
Yeah.
There was like 5 years where the best player to grace these shores, the best performance was from Chris Ivory. London legend.
The streets remember Chris Ivory.
Oh, they'll never forget.
Yeah.
The Yakubu of running backs.
Oh my god. I'd literally, when Ed came to me 4 and a bit years ago saying that he wanted to start an NFL podcast, I don't think I could have pictured that on trade deadline 2022 that I'd hear that Chris Ivory was the Yakubu of running backs, and for it to actually be a good point.
I don't know why you couldn't imagine that. It is true, and it has always been true, and it will continue to be true until the end of time. So any day, not just today, I want you to carry that message with you in your heart.
All right. I will do just that, which, I mean, I'll carry that message in my heart longer than I'll carry this game in my heart.
I have absolutely almost nothing to talk about from this game.
Well, you did actually have one point which you got really weirdly het up about in the group chat and on Twitter, which was about that like Russell Wilson arm punt at the end of the
Oh yeah,
first half.
it just bugs me for some reason when people, if you don't know what you're looking at, I can understand why you'd be like, this is absurd. There's like no one over there, and he's throwing a deep shot. But Tony Romo explained it on a Derek Carr play, I think it was Tony Romo's first year as a commentator. It was the end of the first half, 4th down, about 2 seconds left. He says it's gonna look weird, but he's gonna take the snap, roll out to the right in max protect, and then just chuck it out of bounds because it's safer than punting. So you know me, I've become the Broncos defender, which is a quite awful position to have painted myself into, but here I am.
It's up there in weirdness of Baltimore always electing to take safeties rather than
Yeah,
like
I seem to
actually
remember
punt
the
the ball away.
Rams opting to do it quite a lot as well.
But yeah, you understand why it happens, but I imagine to a London crowd who are a mixture of like diehards and some guy off the street. I imagine there was like, and especially I suppose because you're putting on an exhibition, like you could at least try. I do feel like if there's a game to do it.
We're not talking about NFL Europa in Dusseldorf in July of 1998. It's a regular season game.
It's a good point.
I suppose. As a sort of ever so slightly closeted Jags fan, like this game was hurtful to my soul.
Are you a closet Jags fan?
Like, you know how like I have a lot of Ed guys.
And they just happen to all play for Jacksonville.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of them are like
Yeah.
young Jacksonville defenders.
Yeah.
So like they even picked up a guy and he got a absolutely crippling penalty as well, bless him. But the rookie center Luke Fortner is one of my guys as well. And it just so happens that every time I go, oh, this player's got a bit about him, I like him, he goes to Jacksonville and has his career ruined.
Yeah. Although if there was going to be one player that I think could potentially buck that trend as being a guy that maybe won't have his career ruined, it's Travis Etienne, who busted out 156 yards of rushing. For large stretches of this game, I thought that Travis Etienne was about to put the Jags on his back and carry them across the Atlantic Ocean with how far he was carrying them through this game. It didn't look like the Broncos had an answer for him all day. And considering that they played pretty well against Trevor Lawrence, who only had like 133 yards and 2 interceptions, sort it out, Trevor, for fuck's sake. Travis Etienne.
One of them was terrible as well.
Yeah, well, he keeps doing this thing where he rolls out to the right in the red zone, and instead of chucking it away or keeping it or playing a safe pass, he keeps just misreading somebody that's playing shallow and just throwing it straight at them. He did it against Houston and he's done it here. And that's twice this season, and it's cost them. It should have cost them against the Texans if the Texans weren't an absolute dumpster fire of a team. But the Broncos obviously made them pay because they have like an ounce more talent, even if it's poorly coached talent. Like, come on now.
I mean, that was all pro Justin Simmons. I mean, he's got maybe an ounce more pro there.
Yeah.
But I get. Yeah, we can talk about Trevor's foibles all day, and I'm sure there'll be a forum for that. But yeah, the Huskies legend Travis Etienne.
Yeah,
that was the best day of his pro career so far.
100%, and I could see him kicking on now that he's not got that like weird cloud over him of like, oh, but what if we use James Robinson on this play or whatever? And it's like, yeah, you could do that. You probably should have been doing that last season more often, but you've now got Travis Etienne back and he's running hard, and why don't you use him more? So yeah, he seems to have recovered from that bad drop that he had against the Commanders, and now looks like he could fully have a great NFL career based off of that. So let's hope that he kicks on, because I want to actually enjoy watching a Jacksonville Jaguars game. Please, thanks. All right, we're now out of all of the sort of special window games, be it primetime or London game. So let's turn our attention then to 4 Sunday slate games. The Atlanta Falcons and Carolina Panthers played out possibly the game of the year, with PJ Walker having play of the year almost. 37-34 winners. You got to feel for Eddie Pinheiro, though, who not only missed an extra point, but also then missed a game-winning field goal that was basically nothing more than a chip shot. And it ended up costing the Panthers twice. Crazy stuff. What a game it was as well, though.
Yeah, it was the second one was the length of a normal extra point, right?
Yeah.
33 yards.
Yeah.
So yeah, no,
Ostensibly,
it was a quite crazy game because the Falcons had come back to take the lead on the penultimate drive. Oh no, there was a drive. Sorry, the last 6 minutes of normal time lasted like an hour. The Falcons had a lead. They kicked a field goal to increase the lead. And then PJ Walker comes out and unfolds this 63 air yards bomb to DJ Moore, who had somehow slipped by a linebacker who was the deepest man and some random corner I've never heard of in my life. Gets past them, makes an incredible catch. Everyone's going nuts. He rips his helmet off, starts jumping up and down, and then he plays right into the devious hands of Arthur Smith by ripping his helmet off. I think as soon as you saw that penalty was applied and Eddie Pinheiro was coming up to kick it, you had this feeling like he's gonna miss this for sure. And then I really knew he was gonna blow it a second time because when he took his helmet off on the sideline after the first miss, I noticed he was wearing a diamond ear stud as a kicker, and I just thought, this guy's not banging a big spot.
Did anyone
Did you
see pre-game how he'd sort of stopped doing warm-up kicks and started taking selfies on the field, and I think it was Highlight Heaven on YouTube posted a little clip of it with the caption, "Should have been practicing those kicks, Eddie."
Banging a big spot.
Yeah, ouch. Sort of things that happen to kickers, and it's the sort of thing as well that will get him cut from the NFL just for those 2 blown kicks. So
it's difficult, isn't it? Do you know the cruelest part is it shouldn't have been a penalty because he took his helmet off the field.
yeah.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah,
Ooh.
big spot.
I mean, it's a crazy penalty. To take your helmet off is the same as penalty as someone ripping it off your head. I guess it just comes under unsportsmanlike, doesn't it? But yeah, anytime the NFL has a chance to be you're a little bit too excited about this massive, insane thing that just happened.
I don't have a sting. Breaking news has literally just come through. We seem to be consistently getting host team trade news rolling in. There is breaking news involving the Bears and the Steelers, who are currently apparently working out deals for Chase Claypool.
The Bears?
The Bears are trading for Chase Claypool, which
Why?
I'll reveal.
That makes no sense.
I'll reveal a little thing, which is that I actually had one of my 2 trades. I guess now I need to find a second and a third, being Chase Claypool to Tennessee. So good job, thank you Chicago for ruining my my points. But there we go. Chase Claypool has been traded to the Bears. Don't know the terms yet. We'll try and find out soon.
Are they tanking or not? Because it's as soon as the Bears show a sign of life, Ryan Poles is nah. He shipped away Robert Quinn. He shipped away Roquan Smith. And then he signed. I don't know what it is for Claypool, to be fair, but it doesn't seem like a particularly consistent approach to team building.
Do you know what it is? It's because they want 8 games to end as soon as possible, so they pick the guy with the longest celebration dance for a 5-yard completion.
Look, the thing here is
Tom can barely hide his glee. What have you got, Tom?
I'm so.
What are the terms?
I can't see the terms yet; they've not come through. But I'm so glad, just purely from the perspective of like, he hasn't worked out for the Steelers. The fact that we're getting trade value for him, that's fine. We probably weren't going to extend beyond his rookie contract, given how many things it's been with this kid. Like, as Ed pointed out, they're celebrating a first down, but while the clock's running in the 2-minute warning in a game that you need a touchdown to get back into it. Just shit like that. Calling out people, saying that he wants to be the top 3 wide receiver and then dropping every single pass that's over 5 air yards. It's just, how about you actually fucking make a play? Maybe the Bears will get him to work. I hope that he works out purely for his own sake, but shit, I'm glad that we don't have to deal with it. Oh, phew.
I think it's weird when we talk about Claypool, because Claypool was like this enormous, like, I was like insider to Tom. I was like, this guy's really good, by the way. This guy Chase Claypool. You're gonna really like him.
Total Ed guy. I think you had him go into the Packers, and you were kind of gutted about that because you really liked him, and then we got him, and I was like, oh yeah, that's one of your guys. Could be all right. And then in the first game, he made an unbelievable play against the G-Men. And then I think that's literally the only positive thing he's done since. So, way to go. Anyway, should we get back to the Falcons game, because I don't want to spend too much longer talking about Chase Claypool.
Did you note on the Panthers? Did you guys see that the Rams had 2? It was the Rams that had 2 first-round picks rejected for Brian Burns.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait, which first-round picks were they trying to trade away? Is it next year and the year after?
I think they do have a first rounder this year, don't they?
No, because that was part of the Stafford deal.
Oh, Stafford trail.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that case. Yeah, it must be then.
Shit, alright.
Didn't they offer an equally competitive trade package for CMC as well?
Yeah.
I think.
Oh. Alright.
Maybe David Tepper just really hates the Rams for some reason.
The Bears turned Roquan Smith into Chase Claypool and a 5th-round pick. I don't know if their fans are going to be too delighted about that.
Wait, as in like all of the picks that they got for Roquan Smith, they've traded to us, bar the 5th-round pick. That's even better than I was expecting. I even put down for the Titans pick. That's unbelievable value.
The Bears traded a 2nd-round pick for Chase Claypool.
Yes.
A 2nd-rounder. That's insane.
Yes. Oh. Tell you what. That has brightened up my day about this season. Let's go.
Slightly questioning Ryan Poles at the moment, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, it could work out. Honestly, like, all he needs to do is just figure out how to not lay down when the ball's in the air. That's all he has to do.
What are the Bears averaging in passing yards a game right now? Like 170 or something, right?
Well, they just need a man like Claypool who can catch an inaccurate pass.
Well,
just don't know if they're going to throw it his way, and he's going to be
able to
stroppy.
catch an inaccurate pass. Should be able to. Oh, good vibes.
Right, what's next? Come on, let's keep this train rolling.
Let's get the train rolling, back on track. Sorry about the breaking news that came through. Alright, there was one game this week between 2 teams with a winning record. And who would have thought at the beginning of the year that it would have been the New York Giants and the Seattle Seahawks, and that the Seahawks would come out on top, 27-13 winners. We were, unfortunately, going to have not only a guest spot, but also we'd planned it around a Mr. Longdon being on the show. But unfortunately, neither of those pieces have actually worked out. So we've all got to try and piece together the points about this game. Kenneth Walker is a fucking stud of a running back, right? Now that Breece Hall's gone down, I think he's my rookie of the year.
Are you sure not Damian Pierce? I mean, Sam's going to be at you.
He is
when he
going to
doesn't
be
get
out,
his,
mate. But
what was it, 1,800 rushing yards, whatever he needed.
But honestly, like, Damian Pierce is good. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like a Kenneth Walker showing up after Rashad Penny goes down hurt and proving to be an absolute stud in a playoff-bound Seahawks team will absolutely teeter him over the edge. Because Damian Pierce can only do so much, and with it being such a narrative award, Kenneth Walker's going to get this one, surely. Yeah.
Well, how quickly do you think Chris Carson can create a new voodoo doll?
I don't think that he holds any ill will towards any of his players. He's the one that retired. Oh, good lord. Oh.
Did you see, you know how Walker had his sort of like run-off tackle to the left that was a touchdown?
Yes.
Did you see that DK faked out the defender by pretending it was a pass play?
Yeah, he pretended to run a fade, so the defender just completely flubbed all running coverage. Nice. What a way to do run blocking.
That's absolute shithousery, and I am all for it. I am absolutely all for it.
Yeah. I think that sports are just as much about trickery as they are about skill. Like faking out players is why skillful dribblers usually turn players inside out in football. Like Lionel Messi is capable of putting a man on his arse, and that's like the best defender in the world that he's capable of doing it. Shit. Yeah. Just fake everybody out if need be. Why bother getting physical?
I mean, the fairy tale's over for... Oh, no, the fairy tale's not over for New York. Like,
they're still 6-2 in a bad NFC. They're fine. They've got to stop the wheels falling off.
Are they still the 5 seed?
I think
or are they
so.
another seed?
Which is crazy. Oh.
I don't know if the Giants are... I just don't know. I mean, like I said, they play on the razor's edge in every game they play, and they need everything to go perfectly. And they did that again in this game, but they had 2 special teams mistakes that really lost on the game. So I don't see any reason why you should think any differently about them.
This is fair enough. I'm still enjoying watching their games. This was just an enjoyable game between 2 sides that play enjoyable football.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Daniel Jones has been very rightly praised throughout the season, but sometimes they have to play more as he's a great game manager when the whole team plays mistake-free football, and that's why they have won 6 games out of their first 8, because they've played mistake-free for large parts of this season. But he's still not anywhere near good enough to overcome mistakes from anybody else on the team. This was the first game where they made some actual howlers, and I'm not saying that Jones was part of that, but like if he wants to have a career in the NFL, he's got to be able to occasionally win a game for his team. I still don't buy him as a guy that after his rookie contract with the G-Men that he's gonna get a starting job anywhere. Maybe he will, but it's just.
Do you not think the G-Men? I think I've seen enough that the G-Men might give him a 2-year deal.
But will they want to pay him anything, and will he want to get paid? That's what it comes down to, because I think that Brian Dable would be fine with paying Daniel Jones a little bit, like the same sort of deal that Mitch Trubisky got in Pittsburgh of like $7 million a year, 2-year deal. But I don't see him offering any more than that is my problem.
Listen, man, we can't all get, 6 years guaranteed until we're 45 like Russell Wilson.
Yeah, it's true. At $49 million or whatever it was as well. Ouch. Ugh.
My phone is blowing up. Has there been another trade?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. I messaged the group chat about. Well, I messaged Emma specifically, or tagged Emma.
My wife.
You said that in the worst possible way. Where was the Borat impression? Come on.
Oh, it wasn't a my wife. It was like a.
Yeah.
Why are you
like
messaging?
That's my wife.
It's my wife.
Oh god. Next.
Yeah, for the love of Christ. All right. Let's get this show back on the road where Ed can talk about another victory as his Vikings improved to 6-1 with a 34-26 victory against the Arizona Cardinals at US Bank.
Yeah.
There you go. Sorry.
The
Many
best
bank
thing
stadiums here.
there were two great things about this game, and number one was Jared Allen riding in on a horse for his Ring of Honor celebration. That was great to see. But also,
just quickly on that, I always forget that Jared Allen only played for the Vikings for 5 years. He was on the Chiefs for 4. Like, he's going in the Ring of Honor. He's going in the Vikings Ring of Honor for 5 years. I know that he had his best 5 years there, but it's just a little funny to me.
I mean, Kirk's rushing touchdown was maybe the most exciting single Kirk Cousins moment of his Vikings tenure. Would you agree? Like watching the whitest boy alive get vertical all of a sudden was quite something. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was another one of these games where the Vikings were cruising and then the offense stalled and then the defense did just enough to like stop the Cardinals. Like Za'Darius had his best game of the season. Whoever got rid of him must feel really foolish. It's just a weird game, and once again, the Vikings come out on top when games are weird this year.
Yeah, which makes a change from last year where they came out usually
it's nice.
on the foot.
I mentioned it in the group chat. Like, it's so nice trusting teams to win weird games. Like, I had even though like it came down to the final play, I had a relatively stress-free day on Sunday. That's not happened to me before as a Vikings fan because I'd never ever trust us under the Zimmer era to be able to hold on to it. Like,
You can't ever trust a team to win a weird game. Like, if it's weird, it's weird. If you're saying you trust them, what it might be is that it's not actually that weird. Because if you're saying the Vikings are playing weird games at winning them all, that makes them a candidate for regression in the second half of the season.
You know, this is true, but I think part of it as well is like that was the game that took us to 6-1. Like that was the game. Like it almost like I was like, oh well, we can afford to drop one here, and I've never had that experience with Minnesota before. It was like quite refreshing.
Yeah, the we can afford to drop one mentality is weirdly quite nice to know
it's
that
freeing,
even a loss isn't like the end of the world, but not in a well, our season's already over kind of way. In a here we go. It doesn't matter this game.
Yeah.
You're approaching it all wrong, Ed. What the correct thing to do is when a team is like clearly one of the going to be there or thereabouts on the business end of the season, you can't go into games thinking we can afford to drop this one. You've got to go into games thinking if we see even the slightest crack in our armor or our weakness, we're fucked. We're not going to win the Super Bowl. There's no point playing the rest of the season. That's what I've been doing for the past 3 years, and it works fine.
Oh yeah, you've not been weird at all.
No, I've been normal through and through. You know me.
Yeah. Just another point on Arizona is that since he's back, everything runs through D-Hop. Like, he had that incredible touchdown catch that was the one-hander, but he's just moving the chains all day.
Yep, for sure. They've definitely missed him. I know that they didn't pick up the win here, but like getting DeAndre Hopkins back is so important for how their offense works. So hopefully they become a less stagnant team from here and actually kick on, and we might have a maybe interesting playoff team, perhaps.
No, hopefully they don't, so they fucking fire Cliff.
Well, yeah, that's the other way of dealing with this. All right, and then finally, for this.
Oh wait!
Go on.
The Vikings have traded for TJ Hawkinson. Did you discuss that?
Well, I was gonna, when we got into like the trade deadline bit, I guess we were gonna do that. But yeah, Ed, get some thoughts down about TJ Hawkinson for a 2023 second and a 2024 third, but giving up as well. Oh wait, yeah.
And then I think there's like a fourth round.
Yeah, there's a fourth round going the other way as well.
No, there's 2 fourths.
Yeah, but
a fourth round this year and a conditional fourth next year. I don't know whether that means, whenever they say conditional, I don't know whether they mean it's entirely conditional, whether it would be like a fifth under certain circumstances or whatever.
I honestly don't know. Like, the value is there, I think, on that trade. Like, it's questionable, but what you're getting is probably a better receiver at this point than Herb Smith, a better blocker than Herb Smith. And it's a shame to say that, because
Probably.
Yeah, the word probably is very strong here, given that TJ Hawkinson is
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. But yeah, we've sort of yoinked from a division rival, which is like a rarity in season.
Lions aren't anybody's rival, though, to be fair.
No, this is true. But like, if he plays well, then we'll have had like Za'Darius from the Packers, we'll have had Hawkinson from the Lions, and the Amir Smith-Marset yoinked return from Camp Danzler. Okay, Tom's raising his hands. What is it?
Update. Irv Smith is expected to be sidelined for 8 to 10 weeks with a high ankle sprain, which is why TJ Hawkinson has been traded for. I missed this.
Yes.
So,
10 weeks?
yes,
That's
ouch.
a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as much as anything, they want a player who's a little bit more sturdy than Irv Smith is.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like always on the injury report. But it's yeah, as someone who is genuinely a fan of TJ Hawkinson, and I have him in a lot of fantasy leagues, like I'm excited about this. Just the rich get richer, I think, isn't it? That's the value of this.
It makes a lot of sense. It's a surefire trade for the Vikings, because it feels like every other year the Vikings acquire a tight end, and then like through the draft or through free agency or through a trade, and then it's like, this is the last piece of the puzzle. And so far it hasn't really happened, but it's kind of hard to imagine. That it won't pan out for TJ Hawkinson.
Shall I part the kimono now or later when we're actually doing the? I'll part it now. So all today I've been tossing and turning whether to, in our trades sort of scenarios bit that we're going to set up later, I was sort of debating whether to do Hawkinson or Freiermuth to the Vikings, because I was like, oh, tight end is just the position of need. Let's get the 2 young guys. So now I've been forced to scramble a little bit for the Vikings. But yeah, the trade makes me very happy.
Update on the Chase Claypool thing, just because I've seen the terms come through. The second round pick is actually the Bears one, not the Ravens one. So it's a potentially higher second round pick, depending, because the Ravens are leading the division and the Bears are not. So that's all I can add to that. Okay. Anything else for this game, or are we moving on to the last game of the episode, and then we'll just hit tiny bits throughout the rest, and then get onto the deadline shit?
Sounds good to me.
Cool. The Miami Dolphins 31-27 winners in Detroit. The Lions 1-6. It is very much a hot seat time maybe for Dan Campbell, who has a lot of hype about him, but is still getting absolutely no results from his team. And Miami improved to 5-3. This one was pretty fun though, in the way that it sort of went back and forth. But the Lions completely shut out in the second half. Meant that the Dolphins were able to flex their muscle a bit. My question is, Tua's stat line is 29 of 36, 382 yards and 3 touchdowns, which looks phenomenal. But do you think that he actually played all that well here? Because I saw quite a lot of being bailed out by Tyreek Hill in this one. Which is kind of why they brought him
was
in.
After the catch?
Well,
yeah, that is what they brought him in, to be fair.
Unsure, but yeah. A lot of underthrown balls, which is kind of what people were expecting a bit. With Tyreek Hill being so fast and Tua's arm not being as good. It might have punished a team that had a secondary. That didn't have a secondary like the Lions, but it might not have punished a team that did have one. So maybe one to keep your eye out for. But it was a fun game in a week of very few entertaining games, so that's why it's here.
Oddly enough, it's like what you would expect a competent offense to do against the Lions defense, right? I mean, it wasn't like totally flashy, but they did enough. And after their bye, the Lions came out swinging, but then they just went in the tank again. And you start to wonder about Dan Campbell, how high up he is on the list of coaches who could go next.
I think I don't. Obviously, this is not a Campbell point. This is a Lions point. I'm going to say it. Is there a team that is more systematically capable of crushing their own fans' hopes? Like every time there's like a shred of excitement about the Lions, it just more of the same.
I mean, my go-to answer used to be a certain franchise. It probably still is, but the less we said about them, the better. No, I think that the Lions are the most sort of moribund team when it comes to actually wanting to support them. In fact, with news of my brother's favourite player being traded from the Lions, he is again opening up, looking for a different team again. So he got back on the Lions bandwagon after 4 years of abject failure, then spending a year with the Raiders, which turned into abject failure, and then got back on the Lions and is now looking for another team again. So hopefully you pick a team that you can get behind, isn't from an absolute shithole, or is at least entertaining.
Fingers crossed for you.
Yeah. Shout out, Matt. Anything else from this game, or shall we hit some trade deadline? In fact, should we do like not actually going through the bits, but just pointing out some things from the rest of the slate that, you know, maybe more talking points than the actual games themselves. Like, for example, Josh McDaniels potentially being a Jim Tomsula moment this year. Raiders completely shut out by the Saints. They are hopeless. What's everyone saying?
The Saints missing key players on offense as well, like missing their 2 starting wide receivers.
Missing their starting quarterback.
Yep, it's fucked.
I actually think they found their starting quarterback.
yeah, that's true. But I mean, would you say that was the worst game of Carr's career?
It was.
I can't remember. There's been a lot of track, hasn't there?
Yeah. Derek Carr is one of those guys that when he plays well, I can see him being a good quarterback, but holy moly, there's some dreadful tape on his career. If they got an out on his extension that they gave him a bunch of money for, do they?
Yes.
Okay, they will probably go for that, to be honest, after this season. This is the thing. A failure.
I was looking at, again, as a part of the kimono, I came up with an interesting trade that I didn't go with, but now we're talking specifically about Derek Carr. How do you guys feel about Derek Carr to the Jets?
I really could quite see that.
Like, and they'd probably send Wilson the other way.
I don't know. Another talking point is that I just don't think Zach Wilson's it.
Yeah. I agree. Had some dreadful picks in the game against the Patriots, and Jesus Christ.
Terrible ones. And Mac Jones is still regressing pretty hard.
Yeah. On a more positive swing, Christian McCaffrey became the third running back to score 1+ passing touchdown, 1+ rushing touchdown, and 1+ receiving touchdown in history since the NFL merger. Does anyone want to guess the other two? I'll give you the years of when this happened, which was 2005.
Tomlinson, without a doubt.
LaDainian Tomlinson was the 2005 one, but does anyone know the 1979 running back who passed, rushed, and received a touchdown in the same game?
Who did he play for?
If I said who he played for in 1979, that would give it away.
Right, so it's probably the Cowboys or the Raiders.
It's neither of those.
When did Walter Payton play?
It is Walter Payton.
Yeah.
There you go. Just a nice little moment.
Nug.
Yeah.
And the Rams side is pretty messy. Like, they came out after their bye and they looked like they might be getting back on track, but then the wheels totally came off.
Yeah.
And they can trade 2 first rounds for Brian Burns all they want. It's not going to fix their offensive line. It's not going to help them run the ball. It's not going to keep Matt Stafford upright. It's not going to make a decision to take Cooper Kupp in the game. so he gets rolled up on. Although apparently they said he doesn't have structural damage, but when people say that, it kind of implies that they have other damage that they might miss a couple weeks.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like the the Brian Robinson missed structural damage when he got shot kind of deal. Like he still could miss time. Another point, the Philadelphia Eagles tied their franchise record of 7-0 as their longest unbeaten streak to start a season. AJ Brown, well worth his money, by the way. 3 receiving touchdowns against a dreadful Steelers secondary performance. Wow. What a player, by the way, AJ Brown. We're all AJ Brown believers, right around here.
Oh, yeah. We're all in Browntown, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no doubt. Jalen Hurts can make throws that he couldn't this time last year, and that's good for the Eagles. He's definitely he's an example of how we can't all stay set in our beliefs. We have to adjust when we're presented with new information, Ed.
Yeah, I am absolutely. I feel like it's time. I'll eat some crow on that one. Jalen Hurts looks like a good QB.
If the Eagles have a deep playoff run, Jalen Hurts for MVP if he keeps up this level of play.
You'd be hard pressed when Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and really perhaps not Lamar anymore. When there's other guys playing so well, not sure if they win the Super Bowl. I know that MVP is technically awarded before the Super Bowl, but
if they waltz into the playoffs like 16-1,
yeah, potentially. Okay. But then I'd just give it to all of Philly's O-line instead.
Well, that was more my sort of questioning is like, could we see that being the outcome, like Jalen Hurts potentially winning MVP? I could.
Oh yeah,
really could.
yeah, of course, yeah.
And then just
on that subject, Tom, what's the current head-to-head for? Am I right in saying that the Steelers have lost the last 10 against the Eagles?
No, we beat the Eagles when Chase Claypool, funnily enough, scored 4 touchdowns in one game in 2020.
What am I thinking? Never mind. That's completely the wrong thing then. Disregard.
Fair enough. One funny stat was, though, that the Eagles this season in second quarter have outscored the Steelers in all quarters, and the Steelers scored 13 points and the Eagles scored 14 points in the second quarter. So that actually got a wider margin of victory. So that's just a nice little stat line for anybody that, hates the Steelers as much as I do. Fire Matt Canada. Also, we got a couple...
get in Matt America.
Yeah.
It's not Canadian football.
Oh, that was so stupid and yet just so brilliant. We also had a couple players get their first NFL start, Sam Ehlinger and Malik Willis. I actually think that Ehlinger had a better first start than Willis, but mostly because the
Malik
Colts...
Willis looked like they just literally pulled someone out of the stands. They didn't ask him to do anything.
Yeah, I think he threw 10 passes and none of them were of any risk, whereas like Sam Ehlinger threw an absolute dime to Alec Pierce. How did that actually end up impacting the game's result? Well, the Titans won and the Colts lost, so turns out it didn't impact it very much at all. Fair.
Trades.
Yeah, let's get into the trade deadlines. I didn't prepare a third trade, and my first trade that I was going to suggest has already now happened, but to a different team. So, Ed, I know that you were the most prepared and most excited. Do you want to get the ball rolling for who could you see moving on trade deadline?
Yes, absolutely.
year?
The first one is Mr. Pat Fryermuth to the New York Giants. In need of a tight end for a second-round pick and a fifth-round pick.
That's interesting. That is... I feel like if...
A second and a fifth?
Yeah.
I feel like if the Steelers hadn't just traded away Chase Claypool, I could see that being the case, but Pat Fryermuth is now their reliable inside pass catcher for when Matt Canada actually does want to look at the middle. So, like...
I'm sure... I tell you what then, when they stop designing weird 2-yard screens for Zach Gentry, I'll listen.
Yeah. It's a good point. It is a good point. Yeah, but maybe. I think just the circumstances of what's already just unfurled today probably is my only thing. I'd hate to see that happen, by the way. I love Pat Fryermuth. I don't want him going to the Giants. I want him here in Pennsylvania.
There was I had a moment when I was doing this thing where I was like, every player, I was like, oh, that's, he could move. I'm like, oh, well, I'll just pencil him into the Giants then.
I don't think, no, the Fryermuth one doesn't make any sense because although the Steelers haven't necessarily massively helped out Kenny Pickett, he does like Fryermuth, so I don't see that would happen, but a second and a fifth, obviously he's got a longer contract than Hawkinson, even though he's not really in the same discussion as Hawkinson, I would say, at the moment.
I think he's every bit as good. Like, I absolutely had a first-round grade on Pat Fryermuth.
Yeah, I mean, he could be, but he's not at the moment, if that makes sense. Hawkinson, I think, has been.
Hawkinson has been able to show off more of his skill set by being used properly, whereas Pat Fryermuth, you can see what's there. It's just that for some strange reason, his whole career, Matt Canada has refused to use him.
Probably got about a similar ceiling, though. You would think.
Potentially. Yeah, maybe. I think that's an interesting start, and it's a good start as well, by the way, because it's got us all talking.
Thank you.
That's the whole purpose. All right, Max, do you have a trade drummed up and ready?
Yeah, I do. So everyone on Twitter at the moment, with the Vikings making a move and the Bears making a move to add offensive players, everyone's on Twitter like, oh, the Packers are stupid. They're not doing anything. They should do something. They got to trade for Brandon Cooks, who has an $18 million cap hit next year. All this. But I mean, I think anyone with 2 brain cells knows that the Packers are not a wide receiver away from turning their season around. There's a lot deeper issues than that. So my trade, and I would be interested in this one. My trade would be the Packers trade away Aaron Jones to the Rams for a second and a fifth, which does sound high, but given that they were in the market to trade a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth, is that what the Niners traded for CMC?
Yeah,
they were around that sort of area, a second and a fifth for Aaron Jones.
I like it, but I also don't like it because we've both had a very similar brain wave about team maybe trading for a position that they desperately need, and that team being the Rams. Because my trade that I was most interested in was Alvin Kamara to the Rams. But
I'm just busily scribbling out Alexander Mattison to the
Rams. With all agreement that the Rams do need a running back. But in return, I had the Saints getting... This is where it unfolds a little bit. I had them getting Cam Akers, a 2023 second, and a 2024 third. Because I actually had a look at what picks the Rams had left to trade away. And that was my thought for potentially Galvin Kamara. I think Cam Akers needs a new change of scenery. I think the Rams need a running back.
Yeah.
I also
it's crazy to think
with Kamara's assault charges they can get more than a second and a third.
I don't know. I think if the league's proved one thing recently, it's that nobody gives a crap about what you've done.
Ah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like both of these. It's weird, isn't it, when you think that at the start of the year we were like, oh my god, the Rams have Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson, and Sony Michel. They're going to be absolutely fine. And then we're all talking about them needing a running back. But I'd probably lean towards the Aaron Jones one. I think
Aaron Jones in the last few years has been better than Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
Alvin Kamara's peak was pretty high, but he's not really shown it for the last few years. And Aaron Jones is a nifty player.
He's also not like a particularly great runner between the tackles, which is something he'd be asked to do. No, Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones is, but that's something he'd be asked more to do for the Rams.
What I will say though is that with the Rams, their strategy has been almost to get those guys that maybe did have a peak a couple years ago and trade good value for. So Matt Stafford's best years weren't in the last couple years. They were a few years ago, and then he got to the Rams and, they utilised him. OBJ had a couple down years in the Factory of Sadness, but he peaked a couple years earlier. Von Miller had spent quite a long time injured. He peaked a few years earlier. I kind of see Alvin Kamara as that exact same mould, which is why my thought was there. But I like both of them. I like both of them as a thing. I think the Rams would have been smarter to go for Aaron Jones, but in terms of how they look at building their team, I could see Alvin Kamara being that guy.
We should trade for Matt Ryan if they want guys who are slightly past their prime of their career.
Slightly. Did you guys see that the Colts still owe Matt Ryan? Like, I think it was $15 or $16 million next year as well, because it's guaranteed. Yeah. Ouch.
Depends if he wants to retire or not.
Yeah,
he's got plenty of money in the bank.
I don't know. I'd just say fuck it. I'll just stick around.
Yeah, but then they might actually start you.
Yeah. Win-win. Good times. Ed, back to you then in that instance, since we kind of got both of them.
Okay. Speaking of the Colts, I looked up and down this Colts roster and I was like, oh, everyone's for sale. And I ended up going with the Colts trade Kenny Moore to the Vikings for Chandon Sullivan and a fifth.
Ooh.
That'll get the blood pumping.
Yeah, I know, slot corner, it's the flashiest position. But it might be Chandon Sullivan might be the weakest link on this Vikings defense at the moment. And you can never have enough corners, so it was that or potentially Sean Murphy Bunting or someone like that, but I don't know. Yeah, just thought I think on defense, the Vikings just need a bit of a solid pair of hands. They've got a lot of solid pairs of hands, and I think that's enough this year.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. I don't really have anything to add to that. I think it's a smart move.
I was desperate. Like, I was looking up Quentin Nelson's cap hits. Like, can I do it? Can I do it? I cannot do it.
No.
Listener, no.
I also just don't ever think that they would trade him away, because it's
No.
always nice to build around a good O-line piece, even if your team's bad.
Well, this is the thing. I looked at Quentin Nelson. I looked at Ryan Kelly as well.
Yeah.
But I couldn't see him doing it.
All right. Max, have you got a second one?
Would you forgive me another Packers trade? I thought of an intriguer.
And
Yeah.
The Packers...
only if it's spicy.
The Packers trade... Or the Panthers trade Jeremy Chin to the Packers for Darnell Savage and a second round pick. Didn't know whether to say second or third there. Second.
I can't see that happening purely because I think that the Panthers they've put their flag in the ground with the Brian Burns amount that they rejected, and basically said no.
They put their Brian Burns flag in the ground.
But they've turned around and said we want like unbelievably good value back. I know what you're saying, but I don't think they'd accept anything less than a first for Jeremy Chin.
I also don't really know what's in it for the Packers.
An upgrade at free safety? A significant upgrade?
I mean, I know they do really like Darnell Savage, don't they? And Tom's waving his hands.
Breaking
Tom's waving
news!
his hands.
Breaking news right now. The Washington Commanders are sending Will Jackson III to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Steelers get cornerback help for, I don't know what the terms are, but there is a trade that has happened. I'm just on Ian Rappaport's Twitter account, just refreshing constantly.
I don't understand that either.
I do.
I understand teams who are yeah, but why trade? Why not wait till the summer and see if you can get a free agent that you don't have to send draft capital for?
Because it might not be very much draft capital. it might genuinely not be any.
Yeah, but you can use those for something. You know, every pick you can find a Bailey Zappi.
This is true, but you can also find a Laquan Treadwell in there. So let's temper that enthusiasm. I think that William Jackson to the Steelers it does make sense to me because they're desperate for corners, especially because they benched Takella Witherspoon.
Yeah,
like mid-game versus AJ Brown.
Yeah,
it would help if Minka Fitzpatrick had been over on time on those 3 touchdowns.
He got over on the first one, and just I think he wanted to be the guy that didn't drop one of the 5 picks that we dropped against Miami, and so forgot that you're meant to actually also play the ball. Just a bad look. But yeah. Anyway, enough about that one. Yeah, I don't buy the Jeremy Chin thing, Max. I'm sorry. I think it'd need to be more.
Oh, I didn't think it would. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm just saying, you know.
That you'd like to see it happen.
Oh my god, I'd love to see it happen.
Are you out on Savage then?
I'm not out on Savage. I'm in on Jeremy Chin. In on Chin. You heard it here first.
Yeah, about 2 years earlier when Ed was doing his draft recaps.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I'm saying that you were in on Jeremy Chin. You like the guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I whiffed a little bit on Chin, I think. I'm not sure I was as big on him as others. I was really in on Kyle Duggar.
Oh, you were. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ouch.
Anyone called Kyle.
Yeah. All right. I guess I'll hit my next one. I'm sort of going off the fly now because my plans have all been thrown into the River Don. Brandon Cooks actually got excused from training today for personal reasons, and I think that it's because he's about to get traded. And my initial thoughts when Ed brainstormed this was while DK Metcalf was out, I was like, oh, Brandon Cooks to the Seahawks would be a really funny way to like picture that happening. But then DK Metcalf actually wasn't hurt for long term, so that went out the window. So I guess I just gotta brainstorm an idea for Brandon Cooks to go somewhere, and I guess maybe the New York Football Giants, who I could really see needing a wide receiver because they don't have any.
This is my point earlier. Can we just go back through the list of all the players that we've talked about and see whether they'd be useful to the Giants?
Yeah.
Almost like they don't actually have that good personnel.
Any like Jeremy Chin, yes.
Yes.
Pat Fryman, yes. Aaron Jones and Alvin Kamara, no.
No, because
They wouldn't hurt to have them on the team.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, I like this one. I think that Brandon Cooks could genuinely go anywhere, but a safe pair of hands and a wide receiver one to New York. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it at all because the Giants. I'm trying to get up at the moment. I want to see what that would put the Giants like wide receiver cap at for next year, because I don't know if they're paying Golladay next year a significant amount of money. I mean, presumably he'll have been cut by then. And Brandon Cooks is on the books for a large amount of money next year. So I don't know whether that's where they would best be advised to spend their money at the moment.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
fair
have
enough.
anything more to say. Yeah. I still like the fit because they just need a wide receiver, even if it's a 1 year.
Yeah, and I think with him being so actively shipped, I think that they could potentially get pretty decent value out of that as well, as in like the Texans seem willing to ship it for minimal right now. Usually when you see a guy's name pop up on trade sites for weeks and weeks on end, and then it hits deadline day and they start getting a bit nervous about maybe having to pay this guy for the rest of the season and not being able to use him, they start getting a little bit desperate. So yeah.
Yeah, so next year, they have Kenny Galladay's due for a cap hit of 21 million. Sterling Shepard 4 million. I don't know. I think those are the only two actually, so that's not too bad. Although, actually, maybe they could do a wide receiver solution for the future, because those I think are the only two wide receivers of note they have in the book for next year. Golladay and Shepard.
Now this
and
trade,
Wandale Robinson.
I was gonna, Wandale Robinson's a good guy. I was gonna float this trade as well, so I wonder if I can sneak this under the wire as just a sort of a counter to Brandon Cooks. Is that all right?
Sure.
Before I knew that the Chicago Bears were, in the buying market for wide receiver, I thought Darnell Mooney to the Giants.
I could see, yeah. Again, another one where the circumstances of what's happened today have ruined your and my list. Nightmare. Obviously, there'll be much more news that comes out throughout the day. I could have seen Darnell Mooney being traded before, yeah, because the Bears have been selling for the past few weeks. Like Robert Quinn and Roquan Smith going.
Exactly, it makes no sense.
What
it just makes no sense to me.
Why did they buy with the hire of the 2 second rounders for a wide receiver? Oh.
Apparently, the rumor was in the league this morning that the Packers were gonna offer the best deal for Claypool, so the Bears have got in there and been like, we'll give you a high second rounder, and I can imagine the Packers not wanting to match that.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like when an agent uses, it's always, the Packers always get used by agents. It's like, yeah, the Packers are interesting to jack up the salary cost for some other team, and the fan base goes nuts. thinking we're going to get this player, and it never happens.
Do you know what the really irritating thing is about this trade is I now actually have to pay attention to what the Bears' record is to find out what this whether or not this is good or bad value. I actually have to actively root against the Bears. I don't.
Not so hard.
You do that anyway.
I don't actively root against them. I just don't root for them.
Passively root against them.
Yeah, passively. But now I have to actively be like, yeah, how about you throw another one of those deep shots to no one, Justin, just to really, really make my day better.
Why don't you just find the nearest defender, give him the ball, and then leap over him without touching him again?
Yeah. That's
very
even better. That's so much funnier now that our draft capital relies on it too. Let's go.
Well, it wasn't like they were going to win that game anyway.
No, it is. I mean, you're taught to protect yourself in all other circumstances.
Yeah,
it is funny.
Yeah, it would have been a bit risky for him to lean over and tap Micah Parsons. He might have pulled something.
Or taken a really unnecessarily heavy hit that only Justin Fields would have taken.
The Broncos are trading Bradley Chubb to the Dolphins.
No.
For a package that includes a first rounder.
The one that they got from the 49ers. Holy moly.
This isn't Football Manager. What the hell is happening?
Bradley Chubb.
God.
The Dolphins are going all in, and I don't think they have their quarterback of the future.
Wow. This is...
Yeah, it's a Football Manager. When you're like 4 seasons down the thing, you're like on transfer deadline day, and it's like, ooh, Alexander Lacazette to Shakhtar Donetsk.
Yeah.
That could happen in real life fairly soon, if not for other factors.
Yeah.
Non-off-field factors, shall we say.
Oh, that's crazy breaking news. Bradley Chubb to the Dolphins.
Sorry to overshadow your Will Jackson one. It was a late round pick swap for Will Jackson.
Oh, that's fine. No, there's no overshadowing it. It was very much, I don't... Whereas now, we have an actual splash trade again. Let's go.
Splashing around Dolphin. Okay, so the full thing is Miami traded the first round they got from San Francisco, 24 4th and Chase Edmonds for Bradley Chubb and a 25 5th. So the Broncos are a selling team. So maybe Jerry Jeudy. We'll see Jerry Jeudy get moved.
Just a quick update as well. We kind of got to stop doing these breaking news things coming through, but just another one that I guess I'm gonna now use as my third trade. Trent Brown has just tweeted out the words next chapter and removed all things Patriots from his thing. Where the fuck's he going?
God.
Where's he going?
Trent Brown to who needs a left tackle?
95% of the NFL.
The New York Football Jets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think they would trade him in division.
No.
Left tackle.
Well,
left
isn't
tackle.
Garrett Bowles out now for the rest of the year?
That's true.
Denver.
What they're going to spend the first rounder? They just got for Bradley.
They're not going to spend a first rounder on Trent Brown. Surely not. Even at the inflated price for left tackles.
Who needs
the Bears?
Yep.
It could be the Bears. It could be the Chargers. If they don't think Salyer's the guy.
Yeah, but they wouldn't. They've got a certified star there. Surely they wouldn't bother
Yeah.
spending draft capital.
Yeah, but I mean, who's the right tackle?
I don't know.
They wouldn't move Rashawn Slater over. Right.
What time to be alive, eh?
Wait, hold on.
The
Who was
Titans?
Who was the Packers' right tackle from a few years ago? Isn't he the right tackle at LA now?
Oh, Billy Turner.
No.
But the Chargers have Matt Filer.
Why would the Bengals? Of course, it's the Bengals.
Lyle Collins.
He's not a left tackle, is he?
He's a right tackle.
Is he? Oh, right, okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, fuck it. Trent Brown to the Dolphins. Oh,
I mean,
wait.
they'll play him
Oh.
at right tackle.
No, correction. We've spent all this time debating it. It turns out that he's just put lol, bad timing on my part, but can't look that deep into things. My bad. It turns out I think
That means
he was
something
just
fell
tweeting
through.
about something completely
Your book
unrelated.
he was reading.
Yeah,
His agent was definitely like,
Oh.
The agent was like, "Oh, we got something on, and he got excited, and it fell through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Their right tackle is Trey Pipkins III, by the way, the Chargers.
Who?
Trey Pipkins III.
It's a good
Storm
job
Norton is the backup.
It's a good job that Trent Brown put that correction in about the book that he was reading instead of going there instead. Then
I don't know. Do you not think Bill's just gonna be like, right? Well, you said you wanted to leave, so off you pop.
I don't know. I don't think that Bill Belichick checks Twitter. Should we do one more and then get out of here? Because otherwise we'll.
I don't have another one.
You don't have another one?
I'm not sure. No, I don't have another one.
Me neither. All right, let's just get out of here.
F it.
Oh, what a wonderful time to be alive, eh? Thank you everybody for listening throughout this episode. Sorry that it got a little bit hectic regarding all of the trades that came in. Let us know what you think maybe should have happened on trade deadline day, because this episode will go out after the deadline, I assume. Or maybe I might rush it out before it ends and you can listen to it and then let us know on Twitter. And you can find that Twitter at StiffLipPod. Ed, have you got a closing remark for us on the trade window as a whole?
Yeah, this is exciting. We should do this more often.
Nice. Yeah.
My thought is maybe next time we should actually do it closer to the deadline so we can get the big ones in. It feels like as soon as we stop, something massive is going to happen.
Yeah.
Derek Carr to the New York Jets.
Oh!
Hey.